Hi, welcome back. Here we are on slide. You just watched the 2-minute video on motor development, looking at, again, how we progress in our motor development. Remember, this is gross motor, big body, and fine motor. So let's move to the slide on organized sports and just looking at this idea of physical health, physical development during middle childhood. We're very physically active, right? And you saw that in that video that our balance is better, our strength has increased, we're more coordinated, we're more agile, right? Our reaction time is better. On all accounts, we're advancing in this physical development. We do see lots of benefits for physical development in middle childhood, right? We see cognitive benefits, like our executive functioning improves. Executive functioning, remember, this is planning. Cause and effect, some of these sorts of things these kiddos are working on. We see benefits reflected in their actual cognitive functioning. Remember, we're looking at attention span, memory, some of the language, some of these sorts of ideas when we're talking about cognitive functioning. Overall, research concludes that children benefit from daily physical activity. And actually, 60 minutes of physical activity is recommended per day for children. However, we're seeing that children are not getting as much of this physical activity that is being recommended to them by our public health experts. So this gross motor activity is not happening. Why? Remember that displacement of television. There's lots of competition now out there with screens and media and technology and computer games. There's a lot of competition for physical activity these days. We also see in the United States, children being involved in physical education and in the formal schooling system is decreasing very significantly. So we're cutting out physical education time from formal education, mere going to physical education and then the amount of time in physical education. So this is clearly a problem. So there's lots of positives, right? We know we want them moving. We know that there's a lot of advancement happening. We know there's a lot of benefits. We also see during this time an increase in sports. So we're seeing this organized sport world explode during middle childhood. We used to see gender differences. Now we're seeing that girls are more likely than they were in the past to be in organized sports. So these are all positives with this. All right, so let's move to the next slide looking at fine motor development. Fine motor development. Okay, again, increasing this ability in fine motor during middle childhood. Our writing, look at this picture, becomes so much smaller and neater, right? By the end of middle childhood, remember we're talking 11, 12 here, our fine motor skills have reached their adult maturity. So we're not going to need to speak too much about fine motor. We've gotten those skills down now by the end of middle childhood. Our gross motor continues to develop, but fine motor by the end of this period has developed to the way it's going to be. Look at this picture here. On the left side, the drawing, you can tell the 3-year-old drawing, right? And then the 5-year-old drawing, and then the 7-year-old drawing. By the end of the 7-year-old drawing, we've got lovely labels, right? We've got much, we can tell the sun is the sun, etc. So, writing is improving, fine motor is improving. We're almost reaching our peak here. Let's move to, for the sake of time here, middle childhood physical development, specifically illness and injury. So, as we're very healthy, we are also very safe during middle childhood. This is the safest and healthiest time of life. Death rates for this age are the lowest, both in developed and developing countries. But there is one exception when we're talking about illness in middle childhood that we're seeing. And this is asthma. So asthma rates are the highest in middle childhood, and we do see an increase of these rates worldwide. We do see some differences in groups. Boys are at higher risk. We see higher rates among African American children. And of course, we want to look at why we believe these rates of asthma are increasing. So of course, one culprit we're looking at is our air quality and air pollution concepts. We're looking at increase of carpets or not having carpets in home, increase of having more pets in the home, looking at our windows and our ventilation systems and how they're much more airtight now. We're also looking at this hygiene hypothesis about, we have these really high standards of cleanliness and sanitation. We're being exposed to fewer viruses and bacteria and consequently fewer illnesses when we're little. And these illnesses, when we're little, strengthen our immune system, and that makes us less susceptible to asthma. So our high standards of cleanliness and sanitation might actually be exposing our children to higher rates in the end of asthma. Kind of interesting at the times right now when we're talking about hyper awareness of hygiene and sanitation. So it's an interesting balance here of what we're looking at, but that is a hypothesis regarding asthma. So for illness, pretty healthy here, right? Of course, we're except asthma and those rates and the increase in those rates. Like illness rates, our injury rates are also quite relatively low. We're more agile. Remember when we were talking about we were getting really hurt in early childhood because there was this mismatch in our physical motor gross and fine development and sort of what we could do, but then cognitively we weren't really ready to do those things because we couldn't understand cause and effect and the ramifications of some of our behaviors. Well, now we're anticipating injuries better. We're less likely to be in make those risky choices because we can cognitively think differently about it. Older children are going to get in more trouble because they're going to be in more risky situations. We're going to talk about driving and such in adolescence. But at this age, middle childhood, doing pretty good. Things like falling, getting hit with an object, or bit by an animal or something. These are sort of the common causes of injuries during this time. I'm going to end this video, and we're going to next be talking about middle childhood cognitive development and really spend some time on Piaget's theory as we move into concrete operations. So end this video, follow the workbook worksheet, and I'll see you in the next one. Thanks, guys.